Welcome to Parent Squad. We know getting the kids to bed at a good time on a normal night can be a challenge. And if you add in spring break and sleeping in and staying up late, not to mention travel if you're going somewhere, and that's just a whole other level of chaos. So how do you get the kids back in a routine before school starts back up? Here to help us do that is Riley Children's Health Sleep Medicine Doctor Harish Rao. Dr. Rao, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Yes, so we know that spring break is just that time off from school, time off from the homework routine. It's all interrupted, but you're saying even when it comes to the routine, keeping the sleep as close as possible to the regular routine is really best.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the farther they drift from their regular bedtime and wake times, harder it is to get back on track. Especially, the duration of spring break, and as we were talking earlier, varies from a week, sometimes 2 weeks. So it is just not enough time for them to get back on track if they lose that initial whatever routine they have been set with. So it's best to stay on track. I understand, they want to hang out a little bit more, there's the sunlight and want to enjoy, so they can go to bed maybe a little later, not changing the bedtime too much, maybe an hour is easier to recover without needing too much, adjustments. But I think if the drift is too longer, like more than 2 hours, it's hard to get back on track.
It's harder to get back on track. So how can we help the kids get back on track? Because, I hear you saying try to do it. Don't be too loosey-goosey with it. Maybe an hour, but that may not happen. So if it does go off track, how do we get them best back on track?
Yeah, I understand, things happen. People may travel abroad or go to a different time zone. So the sleep will definitely get more off track. So when they get back, have at least a few days before the school starts where you can make that adjustment. So generally, the typical what children tend to do is they go to bed late and wake up later. So the easiest way to get them back on track is start adjusting the wake time. Is start waking them up, 20, 30 minutes earlier every day. Maybe start 4 to 5 days before the actual day of school starting. So that way they can gradually adjust, because it's harder to go to sleep at a certain time, but kind of make it easier to have a good wake time. And when they wake up, make sure they get exposed to light, because that light is what helps adjust our circadian system. So light exposure in the morning, and at best, try not to have them stay much too longer on the screens, and make sure they turn off the screens at least an hour or two before bedtime.
Okay, that's a big one. At least an hour or two before bedtime. I'm working on that, but I'm sure I'm not alone. So summer, we're talking about spring break, which could be a week or two depending, but summer is a whole different thing. So any advice to parents as we approach that time?
I would say the same thing, stick to the similar schedule. Of course, we want children to enjoy the sunshine and, play outside, get that physical activity, but the further you drift, harder to get back. As I said, if you do things change about a couple of weeks before the actual school start time, start doing the same thing, start waking them up earlier and earlier so that it coincides with they're kind of waking up at their regular wake time by the time school starts.
Yeah. Well, I love what you said about just trying to add 20, 30 minutes back to it a little bit earlier versus a drastic 1 or 2 hours. That can seem like a lot, especially if you're still in summer and you're trying to enjoy the last few days. But 20 minutes, that could really make a big difference, especially if you're building on it like you suggested.
Yeah, and then that gives our circadian rhythm to time to adjust. And then not, face this abrupt change with, your wake time. And then if you do that, your circadian, internal circadian rhythm and your wake time are misaligned.
Yes.
And then you're going to feel sleepy in the morning, and it'll take several days for you to get back on track.
Okay, I feel like I need to see you personally. We're talking about children in their sleep. I think you have to come back and talk about adults in their sleep as well.
Absolutely.
We do know as our kids get older, we know their sleep habits change. So how can we as parents make sure that they're getting the sleep that they need? Obviously, with a middle schooler or a teenager, they have a little bit more freedom, but it's still our job as parents to put that structure in place.
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing for parents to know is how much time the children need, how much sleep they need at every age, because it varies. So, just to give you a few numbers, between 0 to 3 months, it is like a free for all. It's like, children, babies sleep, whenever they want to, and it's a good time because you don't have to tell them to go to sleep, right? But between 4 to 12 months, it is 12 to 16 years. 1 and 2 years is about 11 to 14 hours, and then it reduces to 10 to 13, 9 to 12. 9 to 12 is between 6 and 12 years of age. But even adolescents need 8 to 10 hours. And often, like when we see parents in the sleep clinics, and we just like ask them, how much sleep do you think you need, or your child needs, and they just say 8 hours.
Where's the 6 to 8 number coming from? Like some adults are sleeping, that seems like so, I just hear, oh, you need 6 to 8 hours. And I'm like, where did that number come from?
Absolutely. The recommendation, even for adults, is 7 to 9.
Yes.
That's ideal. So,
I think I need 9 to 10. Is it different by person? Some children might need a little more, some people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why we have a range. And, that's to allow, like, okay, some people need more, some people need less, even among adults as well. Some people claim they can function with less, but ideally 7 to 9 hours. And we as a sleep deprived society, and we are seeing a lot of the sleep deprivation in our children as well.
Well, let's talk about it, because the National Sleep Foundation poll found that 44% of kids do not get the recommended amount of sleep for their age. Is that what you're seeing in your practice?
We actually see more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
And I imagine some might have some actual serious issues, but do you have some that just need a little more structure into their routine? What's happening?
Absolutely. We have a spectrum of sleep, patients that we see. Some of them truly have insomnia, but some of them come with sleep apnea symptoms. So even among those who don't have difficulty falling asleep, and they still are not getting the adequate hours of sleep. So it's more of course, a skewed population. We're seeing kids with more sleep problems in our clinics, but a number is much higher in the population that we see in our sleep centers.
Okay. So what's your advice to parents? I mean, so as parents, we know there can be a lot to keep us up. We're stressed, we're thinking about work. It's just a lot happening in the world right now. But for our kids, they can have a lot that keeps them up too. What's your advice for parents to try to identify that, or if they know that their child is having some trouble sleeping?
Yeah, I think the first thing is like having a good routine right off the bat. As a young infant, start having good sleep practices, and then have like a sleep as a positive thing to do. So they shouldn't think that, okay, I'm being sent to bed because I was naughty, or
a punishment.
So have that importance of sleep, talk about it right from early on. Have a good kind of a routine at bedtime. Talk to them about the importance of sleep early on. So of course, children may have a difficulty through problems falling asleep. They can have problems just like adults do, some anxiety or nighttime fears, or difficulty sleeping alone because they're attached to one of the parents. So they're all the things that they can undergo. But often the biggest problem that we see is screen. If they just have difficulty, coming off the screen before bedtime.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet with my 2-year-old, but my husband and I already talked about it. And our thing is, we want to make sure once we get to that age that screen, phone, whatever, is on our dresser. I feel like you have to take them from children. I want it on my dresser at, I don't know, whatever hard time is, 8 or 9.
Absolutely.
And my husband was like, we're going to just cut the Wi-Fi off. That's another way to do it. He said, just cut the Wi-Fi off. We're not there yet, but we're planning.
Well, you were surprised, American Academy of Pediatrics says children less than 2 years should not have any screen at all.
Yes.
And then between 2 to 5, an hour, and generally about that, after that too. And if the child is not using the screen or device for homework, these days a lot of that.
Yes, I've seen that.
There is just no reason for them to have any screen after dinner until breakfast in the morning.
That makes sense. It's sometimes hard to do. I get it, but it does make sense.
Yes, and I think the early on you start this process, becomes much easier later on. But again, there is sort of peer pressure. They see their cousins doing it, they see their friends doing it. So, but I think if you have that positive environment about sleep at home, it becomes much easier.
Okay. All right. We're a work in progress, doctor. we're going to do our best.
Sure.
Oh, and when there are issues, when do we know we should be seeking a professional?
That's a good question. So if they're truly having, as I mentioned, any kind of nighttime fears or difficulty falling asleep, they're taking a long time to fall asleep, or they're waking up a lot during the night, you see snoring, some difficulty breathing at night, they're restless in their sleep, or you see the effects of poor quality sleep during the daytime. You know, if they're having poor behavior, difficulty focusing, and they have symptoms that could think of, you know, they may have ADHD, or, you know, not doing well in school, having poor grades, difficulty regulating emotion. So there could be a number of things, or daytime sleepiness.
Yes.
There's a number of things that are indicative of not getting enough sleep. And I think those would be the reasons to seek help.
Okay, you know your child best, so you certainly want to be able to advocate for them. Dr. Rao, thank you for all of this great advice.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. So for more on Riley Children's Health, just head to WTHR.com/Parent Squad